Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Cubs beat the Rockies in the series opener. They are your first place Chicago Cubs once again, thanks to a Brewers win over the Cardinals.
Don't say it any more sexier than that, Luke. Oh, my goodness.
Cody Del Mendo's here, Corey Friedman. I'm Luke Stuckmeyer. All right, let's talk about it. It's late night, out on the West Coast a little bit. We call it the West Coast because it's west of us. Listen, this is a game that the Cubs very easily could have lost and maybe even should have lost.
Yeah.
They played some sloppy baseball. It was not a clean game by any stretch of the imagination. Colorado had base runners all over the place.
Yep.
And the Cubs escaped with a win to start the series, and you have to like to see that. I mean, there's games where you're not going to play well. And if you can find a way to win one of those, it's always nice.
Especially on the road.
On the road especially. This was certainly one of those.
Yeah, man. I'll just start with, it was great to see the offense just come to life right away to start the game. Anytime you can start the game, scoring that first inning, it sets the tone, puts more pressure on the opposing team to catch up, and, they're already starting down before they even bat. 2016 Cubs, great example. They were so good at scoring early, and that's kind of like what's been the recipe for this Cubs team so far in these 6 games. They've scored early, and then their pitching has just been good enough. Their starting pitching has been just good enough, and then their bullpen has just been elite, honestly, in the games that they've won at least. Tonight, I think you got a little bit of everything from that. So, yeah, no, it's great. And, I know I was pacing over there whenever Ethan Roberts was out there walking guys. And the reason being is, I just didn't – I wanted to go into the series thinking they can split at least. And I thought if they were going to drop this game that they probably weren't going to even do that. So it feels great to get one in. And now, to me, the pressure is all – there's not really a lot of pressure the rest of the weekend. It's just win one more, go and then move on, because – like me and you were talking, it feels like every time the Cubs go to Colorado, they never win a series.
Yeah.
So to split in Colorado would be awesome.
Well, this game had several moments that felt like doom was coming, and they just kept escaping it. But, yeah, it's a great way to start the series, especially on the road. And like you were saying, Cody, you send Justin Steele out there with a 3-0 lead. Hap grounds into the double play to end that first inning. Felt like it could have been more, too, but that really set the tone. I think helped Steele go out there and do his thing. And it was a sloppy game in a lot of respects, but you also had a good number of guys really step up and help the Cubs earn this W.
I agree with Cody in that those three runs right out of the gate were they really were big in this game. I look at the other sloppy plays, whether it was the weird play where Suzuki runs too far and they don't get the run that as it crosses the plate. And then you look at the pop-up that drops in right field, and that wasn't it. They booted the ball a couple times, trying to get a double play. They did that once. And each time I thought, especially on the pop-up and the run that didn't score, I thought to myself, what would the late, great, rest in peace, Ron Santo have said on the radio during a couple of these plays? Because they were comically bad for any baseball team, right?
Yeah.
Let alone a professional team.
I mean, the air by VR in the bottom of the first, which turned out to be huge that Steele was able to get out of that. But, he had a tailor-made double play. It was, as easy as it could get, and VR didn't make that play. The Suzuki, Madrigal, just trying to figure out who's going to catch that ball.
I'm still not sure who I blame if I'm the manager on that. I don't know whose fault that really was. Obviously it's Suzuki's ball to call him off, but Madrigal was there, and then Madrigal didn't get out of the way, so I don't know whose fault it was.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
I think it's two guys that haven't played with one another before, and, Seiya's obviously still adjusting. We're not sure with the communication, how that is, and, they'll figure that out. It's a tough play. You can see that Seiya's tracking Madrigal coming back, trying to avoid a collision. which is, a good first instinct, but it is his ball. Is the outfielder, like, he's got to make clear that's, my ball, and they'll figure that out. It's all right. It unfortunately was one of those plays where it felt like it was maybe going to cost them the game.
Yeah.
That and the VR missed double play, like a couple plays where you're like, this could really cost them the game, but they'll clean that up, I think.
Well, like you said earlier, I mean, it had moments where you thought, well, there's no way they deserve to win this game. There's no way they're going to pull it out, and they get the W on the road. In the first inning, 25 pitches or 24 pitches they got off of Freeland, and then he really settled down the next, 3 innings, was 24, 25 pitches total. So, they got to him early, but he sort of settled into it before the Cubs finally found the offense again. And after he kind of found his groove there in the next 3 innings, I thought, this is not – it just had a feeling of a bad road loss. And instead, it turns into a game that you can say, we feel good about getting that because we didn't play our best baseball.
Yeah. And back to the Madrigal Suzuki thing, the comments right now is a guy who says Madrigal stinks at defense. That's the issue. And to me, kind of like what you said, the fact that neither one of them, I don't think I've ever played at Coors Field. I don't know how much that had to do with that play, but they've never had played there. So that I feel like that is something. But yeah, I mean, that I think a lot of it just comes with playing with together more. And again, thankfully that didn't hurt them. But as far as what you said about, how that first inning kind of died and they could have really put the pedal to the metal there. Yeah, I mean, it felt like that, but I don't know. I just felt really good about Justin Steele tonight. And so in a way, I was comfortable. It was just until, the 4th inning. And I honestly thought he was going to get into the 5th inning easy. And then, obviously some of the defense didn't help him out, so he had to throw more pitches. And, that kind of led to him coming out, which kind of sucks for him. We were all kind of joking, like the defense, like the roster, whatever, the offense, they all owe him a steak dinner because he deserved to go farther. I think if there's, outside of, whether you want to say we got lucky tonight or not, I mean, there was still a lot of good for what's to come, whether it's Steele or Keegan Thompson. Givens looked great in that 9th inning. Good to see Frank Schwindel hit one out tonight. There's a lot of great things. So
I don't think Steele was as sharp as he was in the opener, but he still could have left with 5 innings, no runs, had things bounced his way or had some things not bounced poorly against him in the outfield. And he didn't quite have the command. It didn't feel like on some of his pitches. The curveball didn't look like he was commanding it quite the same, but he still looked good. Who said somebody in the comments just said, Scott says he looks like an angry Kyle Hendricks, and I love it. And he does have a little attitude out there, and I think what we've seen in the first 2 starts is that so far he's looking like he can be a major league starter.
Yeah, you have to love the attitude, both of Steele and Thompson, right? They have a lot of poise and confidence for how young and inexperienced at this level as they are. So you have to love that. And yeah, I think Steele, as the game went on, and as he gets taken out there in the 5th, the command was off. Luckily, he was missing up and out of the zone, not over the zone. Yeah. So he was able to kind of get away with that stuff. That's where the defensive miscues are more unfortunate. They didn't impact the score as it turned out, but Steele probably gets through that 5th inning a little cleaner. The velo dropped. The command got away from him too much at the end there. And if you save those pitches on the double play, the dropped fly ball, he probably gets through that without the stuff derailing as much. But overall, this was a good performance. And, we've talked about their ability or the potential of some of these, this wasn't a strict piggyback start, right? You had Roberts come in the middle of those 2. But this is the type of stuff you want to see this pitching staff do, especially on days Steele starts or whoever. Thompson comes in, takes over the game, shuts things down, and you don't have to use a bunch of guys to get a W. Right. It was a nice game plan tonight.
The thing that kind of, and I don't know if Ross would have done this, but Keegan Thompson was rolling. And if Steele would have been able to get them 5, Ross might have just let Thompson finish the game.
Yeah.
Like he was electric on that mound. And when we looked at the box score and only see him only have 1 strikeout, the reason we were all surprised was because he had so many swing and misses, just didn't finish them off. But he was able to, pitch to, get outs. And they were all most of them were all soft contact. I know the one hit the one batted ball I can think of that was hard hit was when Thompson came in to save Ethan Roberts, when we all thought that the Cubs had just blew the lead. And thankfully, every hard hit to left field in the air tonight by the Rockies was hit right to Ian Happ.
I can't believe he only had 1 strikeout.
Yeah.
Thompson's stuff was so good in this game. It was really, people say that's video game stuff. His ball was moving so much. It was like watching a video game sometimes.
Well,
he was out, and he was the star of the game, period.
This is why, last year and coming into this year, a lot of people debated who should get these start options. What should they do with Steele, Thompson, Alzolay? I do think that this is the role that Thompson is best served in. It was the one that he had the most success in last year, as opposed to the starts that he got. And this is a really valuable role. There's nothing wrong with not being a starter, because this is a really valuable role, especially on this team and with the way this pitching staff is constructed. It's even at full strength is not necessarily going to be 5 guys you're expecting to go out there and throw 7-8 innings a game, right? This is a really valuable role. 3 1/3, 45 pitches. Like you said, we were all surprised he only had the 1 strikeout, but no walks, in command the whole time. If this is a recipe for what they're going to do going forward, Keegan Thompson is going to be a very valuable contributor to this team.
Before we get off Steele, I'm actually a little surprised that there's not a little bit more buzz about this. Just as a Cubs fan who's seen a lot of, us putting a lot of pressure on these young Cubs Nation was very excited over some Adbert Alzolay starts where, it wasn't showing that much more than this. And so I just think, Steele's probably doesn't have that value coming in as a prospect, but just, that's a young pitcher who looks good for his first 2 starts. That's exciting for the Cubs.
Yeah, that's the thing. You said it right there. Alzolay, when he was coming up, he was known as the Cubs' best pitching prospect after Dylan Cease was traded, and we had to wait a few years to see him. And Justin Steele's been in the Cubs system for since 2014. He gets called up for the first time last year, showed some flashes as being a really good bullpen arm. Then the deadline comes and they say, all right, kid, let's see what you got as a starter, because what else do we have to lose? And we got 5-6 starts out of him, struggled out the gates doing it, but he closed the season really strong in his final 2 outings and was strong in spring training and earned this chance. And that's why, for me at least, I've been excited for it. I don't know, as far as the hype, I can understand why it's not nearly as high as someone like Alzolay. But again, I think it has to do with the prospect status and stuff like that. But that goes to show you that if you can develop your own homegrown pitching, doesn't matter what your prospect status is. If you're good at if you're scouting in your front office, whatever. If you can find talent, and you put them in the right situation, things can work out for you. And so far, Dan Kantrovich and this front office under Jed has kind of pieced that into the right situation. And I know it's only 6 games, but they deserve a little bit of credit here.
They do deserve some credit. And I think part of the you talked about the hype. Joey asked about the hype around him as compared to Alzolay. I think there's a couple things. One is the Cubs weren't able to develop young pitching, right? We've talked about it ad nauseum. So I think Cubs fans may be a little gun-shy about a young pitcher coming up. You don't want to get too sucked into a young pitcher's success because I've seen it not work. I've seen it not work. I've seen it not work. And then the other side of that is the opposite. They've rebuilt the farm system, and now one of the strengths of that farm system is a lot of young arms are coming, When we talked to Max Bain on the podcast about 3-4 weeks ago, he said, you don't understand. We've got arm after arm after arm after arm coming. He's like, we're loaded and we're all coming up. And that's another reason why it's not, I think people aren't going crazy over Justin Steele pitching well is because they are starting to now expect to see that. Even though they were gun shy before, now they start hearing these names one after another, and they're like, he's just another one of the guys coming up. He's not, when Alzolay was coming up, he was like the only guy in the farm system at the time that people were talking about.
Yeah.
Now Steele is just one of the guys, which is certainly a good sign moving forward for the Cubs. If this is someone who's just one of the guys in the mix for things, and he's going to pitch like that, that's a really positive sign for everybody.
I think of what we've seen, whether it's Steele, Thompson, Ethan Roberts. I know he wasn't good tonight, but like what we've seen in the 2 other appearances. And then, we've talked about Caleb Killian coming up later in the year. Like, those guys are just a taste of what the Cubs have going on the farm, pitching-wise at least. And I know, like, that's easy for me to just say based off, like, hype, projections and rankings and all this stuff on the farm, but like if you, like I said, if you have the right people in place to find talent, kind of like how the Cubs have shown already with these guys, with this front office under Jed, like it's hard to not believe that these guys, at least some of them, are going to have some sort of role that could help the Cubs down the road and becoming a real contender. And obviously not this year, but in years to come. So yeah, man, it's just really exciting for me, at least, to when I think about it, like where the next great Cubs team could be more really good homegrown pitching. Whenever in 2016 it was like homegrown position players, and we paid for pitching. And I'm not saying we're going to go pay for a bunch of position players, because there's a ton of position players down there too. But like when you can get both, like the sky could be the limit in a couple years. Of course, we just need a lot of development and a lot of things to go right.
The process seems worth buying into.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like Theo is always a big process versus results guy, and you're seeing a little bit of both now. And like Alzolay was more on like the prospect rankings and had more of that hype. Steele didn't necessarily get that same treatment. But the process that the Cubs have right now in terms of who they're identifying, drafting, developing, we'll see how all this plays out, but it seems worth buying into more. And like I mentioned the poise and the confidence from Steele and Thompson tonight, but I want to reiterate again, like Steele could have let this game get off the rails. His defense was failing him. He had made the pitches to have the outing that he deserved, and he got back out there and got more outs, right? Like, and he could have let this go
100%.
off the rails, and he did not do that. And you have to give him a lot of credit for like
At
the mental
Coors Field.
fortitude to do that. And like now on the year, 9 1/3, just 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. Like that's gonna play, right?
He could have easily given up 6 runs in this game, and I wouldn't have blamed him for most of them.
Yeah,
he had to make a ton of extra pitches, and like with guys on base, like high pressure, high leverage situations that he didn't pitch himself into, and he bailed his defense out multiple times. So credit to Justin tonight for sure.
Matt says Steele can be a solid starter. Wouldn't say front line, but those are coming. And you know what? I'll just say this, Matt. Don't rule anything out yet. We've only seen 2 starts. I mean, these are 2 nice starts. I don't want to put too much value into them, but at the same time, I'm not going to rule that out yet. And I'm also not going to rule out Adbert Alzolay either, because when he comes back from an injury, maybe a good performance from Steele and another good performance from Thompson, maybe those guys start to build. The pressure comes off Alzolay. Then he doesn't feel like he's the whole future of the team necessarily. And maybe he can just come back in and start working on what he needs to work on.
Well, and it's only 6 games so far.
Yes.
So, like, you don't want to jump, like, 2 ahead.
No.
But it is interesting to remember, and they're on different timelines, but at some point you're going to get Wade Miley back, who was quite good last year. And hopefully, at some point, whatever role he plays, you get Alzolay back. So, like, the longer this rotation looks good and sort of stabilizes and keeps the team in games, you should be getting some reinforcements. And that's not even considering if and when they bring up Caleb Killian, which is, we're driving the hype train on that for sure.
For sure.
There it is.
I know a lot more people, like the casual fan, is going to eventually want these starters to find a way to go 6 or 7 innings. But I just feel like Jed has this team built for guys to go 5. That's how I feel like that it is.
Hey, I got a question. If you had a perfect game in like the 5th or 6th inning, would you have pulled him in this game? I mean, nobody's going the distance. So if you're out there hoping to see Justin Steele go like 8 innings, it's not happening in baseball right now. So I think every start you should pretty much expect like 4, 5, 6. 6 is a lot right now if you're looking around Major League Baseball. Not too many guys going deep into the game with the short spring training and the weird off season. And that's why there's extra pitchers on the roster right now.
For sure. And that what I said was kind of, a little bit of a joke, but also kind of like I remember reading a comment the other day that it was about Stroman, I think, and people were like disappointed he only went 5, and it's like it was his first start. We're coming off a short spring training, so I just want people to understand that like it's going to take a while to ramp these guys up. It's going to take more than one start. So, this is like might be one of the few times a starter goes 4 innings, and I'm like, this guy was electric tonight. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, we've talked so much about Steele and Thompson. A little bit of Givens. He was more impressive to me in the 9th inning than Robertson has been in his 2 appearances, and I think it's mainly because he's getting more swing and miss than Robertson, and that's why I felt like Ross brought him in, because Coors Field 3-run game, anything can happen. Instead of letting them put the ball in play, just get the out, right?
I still think when we made the preseason picks, that's why I said I think he'll barely, but he will end up with more saves than Robertson, is that I still think if you ask David Ross to pick a closer, he had to pick one tonight, he would say that it's Givens and not Robertson. And early that first game when Robertson got the save, it was really Givens who was in the high leverage situation. So sometimes we don't see the quote unquote closer in that closer role. And I just think if he had to pick one, that's who I would agree. Mm-hmm. And I also think his misses are better than Robertson.
Well, and I like the, even along that idea, like going back to like opening day, I like the idea because Givens gets more whiffs of, maybe Ross being a little flexible with that. Like oftentimes the 9th inning, those 3 outs are not where the game is won and lost in your bullpen. And so if Ross is willing to be flexible with that, you go to Givens when you need swing and miss. When there's an emergency, you need a fire put out to save the game, right? Not literally get the save. And then, there's nights where things are cleaner and you can make a decision between the two. But, yeah, I think Givens right now is probably your highest leverage reliever, at least as it stands at the moment.
Listen, you don't have Mariano Rivera. Nobody does.
Yeah.
But the Cubs certainly do not.
Right.
So to think that Givens is going to be great every night would be foolish. To think that Robertson's going to it's going to go in waves throughout the season. I just think when it's all said and done, if health is even for everybody, that Givens may have more saves than the other guys, but I don't think it's going to be by more than like 3 or 4. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a huge disparity among some guys, and that might be Wick or somebody else that comes into that mix and gets in there too before the end of the season. You would think. Yeah,
and then as far as the bullpen goes, there's still a few guys out too. So you add that to the mix, and that bullpen gets even better. I just remember it was like the first or second game, there were already people that were in the comments that were like, so we need to get bullpen help immediately. And I feel like, I don't think it's quite there yet, but we're already starting to see the bullpen kind of come into fruition. The kind of like how I said, or Corey, I think you said it too, on a previous show, on how it's just going to take David Ross some time to find some guys and get them in the right situations. And so far, the way he's used Givens, whether it's the 8th inning or the 9th inning, he's been pretty good when he comes in. So that's positive to see. So, this was a great game despite the sloppiness. I had fun watching it.
There were some moments in this game that were fun, and there were some others where they were cover your eyes. I do see a lot of chat going on, some of it about Patrick Wisdom, and I know people are getting a little frustrated with his slow start to the season and, the slow finish to last season.
Right.
And I know somebody asked, and we even kind of questioned, like, how long would the leash be if VR keeps playing well, that maybe VR would start to get more starts at third base. I would guess that's still a ways off personally, because I think they want to give Wisdom every chance possible to try and recapture that magic.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough. It's again one of those things where it's 6 games, but his struggles started over the summer last year. Brendan and I talked about it last night. Like, he did make some mechanical changes. They may not be like super obvious, like his swing isn't totally different like some guys when they make those changes. So you do want to give him some leeway to see if that plays in a regular season and against real pitching and stuff like that. But yeah, like at the same time, like we knew that these were going to be the comments, right? I'm not surprised. The at-bats have been ugly in large part, and so I think when the strikeout numbers are that gaudy, especially on a team now that's making more contact, it stands out a bit more. I get the frustration, but yeah, I mean, look, like you unearthed a guy that broke your rookie home run record last year. The struggles began last year, but you have to give him more leash. It's 6 games, no matter what, right? Like, I don't know what the appropriate number is. That's a call for people who get
more than 6
paid to work for the team. But yeah, it's got to be more than 6. Like, they're putting him at the bottom of the lineup. The stakes are pretty low for where he's at. I can't tell you how it's going to play out, but you will have to be more patient whether you want to be or not. That's up to you. But it's 6 games, so we'll see.
I'm with you, and I'm with the frustration. I totally get it. I mean, it pains me because, like, last year when he was, he came on the scene out of nowhere, and I learned that he was traded by the Cardinals for nothing, and I was like, oh, maybe the Cardinals actually looked like a bunch of morons for once and at the end of a trade. And then the league caught up, and he never really figured it out again. But the power is there as he showed it. And I do think the defense is there. Tonight was very discouraging because not only did he go 0 for 4, but there were a few defensive plays too. I don't think they went for errors, but I know there was a slowly hit ball towards him that was going to be a tough play to make. But we've seen him be so good defensively that, like, I thought that's a play he should make, and he couldn't make it. And to me right now, and I never played at this kind of level or anything, but, like, to me it feels like the confidence just isn't there for him right now. And when you don't have the confidence, it's hard to play well at anything or do anything well at anything.
Right.
You do want
Joe's with you too. Joe, by the way, says Wisdom just needs a day off. Let's all relax.
Yeah. And that's what I think too. He needs a day or two, honestly.
You do, like, at the very least, like, even if you want to switch around the lineup, give him a day off, absolutely. Like, that kind of power is a really valuable skill. So, like,
Right.
I know that there's going to be some fans who are, and I see it on Twitter, like, they're done with him, right? Which is way too quick, right? It's 6 games. He had a very impressive, rookie season last year. But at the very least, you want him to figure it out even a little bit to be a role player on this team. Even if you don't believe long-term he's going to be a starter or what his role would be on whenever the next great Cubs team shows up, a guy that can hit 28 home runs in that short of a span, like, that's a very valuable and unique skill. You want to figure that out, even if it's only in a specific role. Right. Like, you shouldn't just be writing him off. I wouldn't be giving up on him in 6 games. It's been rough. But definitely you don't want to write him off completely either.
Another thing is like, who else do the Cubs have at third base besides VR? Like, who else can truly play third base? There's no one really in Iowa right now that they could come up and will be better than him. So the only other option would be if they went out and, they're not going to trade for a
I don't
third
think he's
baseman,
going. I don't think he's going anywhere. You might see his playing time start to shrink throughout the season.
But, I mean, injuries come. Like, you can't bank on VR being able to play every game at third base the rest of the season if you were to just bench him now. That's why you got to give him time. And I know it will be frustrating, and there will be times where he probably will strike out with guys on base in less than 2 outs, whatever. But we just have to give him the chance to figure it out. Again, this guy was once a first-round draft pick, and in my personal opinion, was never given the full opportunity to play at the major league level. When he was with St. Louis, he got blocked by Matt Carpenter, and I still think that was a gigantic mistake by them. Not necessarily now, but because of Arenado. But he's definitely better than Matt Carpenter, in my opinion, at this point. Then went to Texas, went to Seattle, and didn't even get 100 at-bats with those teams. The Cubs gave him a chance, and, yeah, he came out hot, and then the league adjusted. He just needs to find a way to get past that. And
I think this would be a different story if the Cubs were competing for a World Series this year. Like,
yeah,
what's the upside that you get from Jonathan VR versus the upside that you could get from Wisdom? Like, you know, I just don't. What are you losing by, you know, giving Wisdom 100 starts this year at third? And like Cody said, it's not like we've got Kris Bryant in Iowa banging down the door. Like, you know, there's not really a better option.
And VR is still going to get plenty of at bats because he can play short, he can play third. Rodna wants an old school fix. She just wants him to choke up on the bat and start swinging for smaller hits than just for home runs. And Tristan says give him till May.
Yeah.
Well, that might be an appropriate mark. You know, might be another like 10 days or so, and they'll see how he does in the next 10 days.
You know, clearly, like, you know, we'll see what their internal plan is, but yeah, like the pressure's on. Like, and it may not work. He's striking out at a very high rate. Like, it's not good. You're not wrong to notice that it's not good. It is not good right now. But yeah, like.
And before last season, I don't think any of us would have been surprised that this isn't going great. Like, that we brought up Patrick Wisdom and he's not playing at an all-star level. I think, like, you know, our expectations were higher, kind of warped after last season. It's like, this shouldn't be a massive surprise.
Yeah, it was worth coming into the year. They're different players, different things, and Frank had a really nice night tonight, so he's, you know, sort of turning things rather quickly. But it was worth coming into the year and seeing what you had with these guys. That is no longer true after 6 games.
Correct.
It's still true.
It's still true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think if you really want to look at it objectively, you could say if one of them emerges from this season, you're like, we still have something, you should be pretty happy. Now, I'm not saying you can't get both of them to be great players, but if Schwindel has a good season and Wisdom doesn't, I think it's a win. If Wisdom has a good season and Schwindel doesn't, I think it's a win.
Yeah.
If both of them struggle this season, at least you know, and you tried.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's crazy either way. I do think, like Joey was saying, give it a little time. They're not fighting for every win to try and get into the postseason right now. I know the games all count the same, but this team isn't built to win the World Series this year. Let's just be honest. They're not. This is a developmental year, and if they get some playoff experience along the way, that would be a win.
And if they are competing as this season goes along,
yes,
they'll approach this more aggressively. Yeah. Like
if they get to the deadline and
we're
actually
6 games in,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody needs to be sent. You know, nobody needs to be designated for assignment off of 6 games. Not yet.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking about playing this guy more here. I mean, I said in the pregame that I would have liked to see Nico at short because of the defensive factor, which obviously we missed that for most of the night. So that's the one downfall of having to, you know, get those at bats to Wisdom, because they would have probably played VR at third and then Horner at short, and then Wisdom would have been on the bench. But in the ballpark that they're in, I totally understand why they did play Wisdom, because it should have been a big game for him, and it just wasn't. And it's unfortunate.
I do think that we'll see how they do it going forward, but Nico's probably going to sit occasionally. You know, he's had those injuries, and kind of like the pitchers, you know, they just want to be careful with, you know, I mean, like I know in the NBA, it's load management, right? Like I don't know if that's exact. I don't know if they have a strict number that Nico's playing a week or anything like that, but I would expect him to sit occasionally just to make sure that he's able to get through this season, have a full development year, like, yeah.
In a stretch of 10 games, for instance, it was good to see that Wilson Contreras could take a night off and that Yan Gomes could come through and have a pretty good game.
I am, again, 6 games, so just like everything else, we're not overreacting, but I was thrilled when they signed Yan Gomes. I know a lot of people read into that as like, oh, this is like sort of a real catcher. Maybe Wilson's out the door. And that stuff still lingers. It's still weird. We've got that arbitration hearing looming. Like, yeah, we'll talk about that eventually, right?
Yeah.
But Yan Gomes, 2 for 4 tonight, looks fine behind the plate, hitting the ball. And it's just very, very nice to have a really solid MLB level backup catcher. And I love Wilson in there. He's smacking the ball to start this year, coming off a 453-foot home run in Pittsburgh. But he needs those days off, and I think we're really going to be happy about these Yan Gomes starts. Anytime he goes 2 for 4, batting down in the order, that's great. But as Wilson is hopefully healthy and thriving later in this season, it's because Yan Gomes, you're able to put him back there and be confident in it. And credit to him, he's going out there. We're talking about Justin Steele, Keegan Thompson, all these young guys. Yan Gomes is catching them, right? Wilson will do it too on occasion, but the catchers deserve a lot of credit too for calling these pitches, keeping these guys calm, and leading the charge out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love that. And yeah, Yan Gomes, 2 for 3 tonight, like you said?
2 for 4.
2 for 4. Like, you'll take that every day of the week for your backup
Absolutely.
catcher. And, I thought he had a good night. Obviously, your guy Schwindel had a good night. Congrats on your point, Stuckey.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do want to point out
first
He's
ever.
not gloating about
Number
it.
one,
We made
yeah,
it
it was
I am a
surprising.
little surprised.
It took you that
I
long to
was
bring
sort
it
of
up.
expecting the party horn before I did my gloating, but
Hold on.
still waiting.
Is it coming?
You have no idea how many sound effects. I mean, can you see the thing on here? Hold on. See, look how many sound effects.
Shouldn't we star
Was
this?
that the
It's
party
not
horn?
so easy
The
to
only one I've
find.
ever heard
Fraser
is the
hype
party
train or
horn.
the Caleb Killian hype train horn? Are they the same
Yeah,
horn?
it's all the same
all
horn.
the same
All the
horn.
same horn.
We got 1,000 things, but we only use the party horn. I will point out before we hit points bet that Joe Schroeder has my comment of the night. 6 games in and in first place.
Right.
Send them all down.
Send them all down. That's,
You're right, Joe.
That's Cubs
That's
Twitter.
right. First
in a
place
nutshell.
Cubs, and we're talking about whether or not somebody should be kicked off the team.
I will say most of the comments are positive, so that's good. I'm glad to see most people are happy.
But I did see during the game a lot of Twitter comments flying by on my feed, like, I've seen enough of this. There was.
Yeah.
I understand it. It's all
Yeah.
part of being a fan. I'm just saying, like, 6 games in, they're in first place. Joe's right.
Right.
Don't need to make any moves just yet.
Yeah.
So I went 3-0 gambling tonight on this game.
What did the Bryant thing didn't deliver though? Did it?
The Bryant thing did
Barely
deliver.
at the end,
Oh,
right?
Because he got a base
Yeah.
hit in the 9th inning, so 2 total bases, minus 120. check.
Givens locked down the game,
Yeah.
but while helping you
While
hit the
helping
bet.
me
He's
out.
a nice
yeah,
guy.
he gave up 1 hit, and it was to Kris Bryant. Kyle Freeland, under 4.5 strikeouts. Opposing pitchers' strikeouts, unders against the Cubs this year are now 5-1. I'm just saying.
And the other one is the Cubs have never lost when Cody and I have a post
Oh, yeah.
game
The other
show.
one is when, And if you could bet that on points bet, which I wish you could, but
Not
you can't.
everybody can say that, but Cody.
But
and
we
I
can at least say
that.
that. Yeah.
Well, now it's just Brendan that can't say that.
Anyway, I made all those bets. If you all rode with me, if you watched the CHGO Bets Daily Show and took those bets, and you're sitting here happy that the Cubs won and also a little bit richer, I hope you did them all on PointsBet, which is the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com and we'll help you. Remember that PointsBet is your home for live in-game betting. They even have a new exclusive feature, live NBA same-game parlay. For the first time ever, build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. You can even boost your live same-game parlays. And now online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. Every show I say Luke has done it, and if Luke can do it, all of you can do it too. So signing up with the fastest sportsbook is now easier than ever. So start living your bet life in seconds. Use code CHGO to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Matt says tough fielder's choice for KB tonight. That did almost catch you on that bet. And that was the one prediction I made that did not go well for me. I had Kris Bryant homering in this game.
Everyone had Kris Bryant homering in this game.
Didn't happen. So it's a good thing I didn't put my money down on that one, fortunately. Bryant saying before the game, hey, every time I play the Cubs, we don't have to have a press conference. He had some funny comments. He joked about David Ross. He was asked about David Ross's managerial style, and he said, well, when I see him I can only think of him on Dancing with the Stars, so I can't take him too seriously. And then his other great comment was he was asked about the service time, and he wants the new service time rule in Major League Baseball to be named the Kris Bryant rule, which is just a little bit of a dig.
Yeah.
We've got another great comment there from Joe, loving the podcast. This is the first time he's able to tune in live. If you're listening to the podcast right now, just know that we're going live after every game on YouTube. We're going to be doing this all season. If you're watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube so we can read your comments and everything. But just join us live. It's great to have fans in the chat. And then I also got a surprise for you guys here. Hold on.
Is he here?
There he is.
He is here.
Can we hear him?
Hello. How's it going?
Ryan Herrera checking in from the Mile High City.
Denver.
Yeah, he was live on the DMVR Rockies podcast today.
Yeah. How was that?
That was a good time. Oh, it was a good time. I see the bar and see with the whole setup, and I'm like, I want that. I want that so badly, but we got to wait. We got to wait a little bit of time. But no, the DMVR setup is awesome, and this is my first ever trip out to Denver, so it's been a blast for the 12 hours that I've been here.
Hey, Ryan, I do have one more quick question before we get to baseball. Did you see all the CHGO merch in the Denver office? And if you did, can you slide some in your suitcase for me?
I'll have to get Eric. Maybe he can help me get that 5-finger discount. But no, yeah, I did see it. There's a lot of it there, ready to get going. So hopefully that's getting shipped out. Hopefully we're getting our free shirts. I'm waiting for that free shirt. So I'd actually have to get Eric on that one too.
You should bring that up. No one, the shirt I'm wearing, I bought. We're all still waiting for our free shirts here at the office. So
the freebie stuff.
I'll have to get on the DNVR people for sure.
Yeah.
So what was the word? What was the word after the game? I mean, here we've just been talking for about pretty much everything, but we also talked a lot about Keegan Thompson. For us, was one of the. If you had to pick 3 stars like a hockey game, he had to be my number 1 star. I thought he was that good, and he really saved the rest of the bullpen and the game, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up 3-2 right there with Ethan Roberts. Struggled obviously. He's a rookie, young guy that's going to come, but Keegan came in, got that out to close out the 5th. Kept it at a 1-run lead, and then it was another 3 innings from there that he just kind of shut everything down. And we've talked a lot about how Keegan Thompson, he could have been a starter and may still have a shot to be a starter. But, Rossi and Tommy Hotovy, they really like him as that multi-inning guy out of the bullpen, that piggyback, who's, anyone that's going to come in and he has the ability to go for a while, but that he's going to, out of the bullpen is where they want, especially this early in the season. But yeah, no, I mean, everyone was just impressed with what Keegan was able to do. 3 hits, no runs, no walks, that 1 strikeout right there. I think that was to end the 8th. But yeah, just impressive, especially in a hitter's ballpark like Coors Field, just how he was able to shut the Rockies down, and especially once they got that 3-run lead, to just not let them really get back in it at all.
Were you surprised as well that he only struck out 1 person? Because we looked at the box score after he was finished, and we're all shocked that there was only 1 strikeout for him.
Yeah, no, I literally just looked at the box score this second to see it. I'm like, did I write that down correctly? Was it really just 1 strikeout? Because I remember that curveball, that curveball right there, is it to Connor Joe? Maybe it was. I don't know. Remember who exactly it was, but yeah, that curveball right there was nasty. And I mean, maybe it's
the most delayed strikeout call ever.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I guess I expected a little more. Maybe it was just everyone, people were putting bats on the ball. So the Cubs had 10 hits, double digits. I mean, it was just a hitter's day. And like we talked, when you look at Jonathan VR, got kind of unlucky on a bunch of kind of heaters that came off his bat. that just went right at someone. But no, I mean, I think that may just have something to do with it. Everyone was kind of putting the bat on the ball today, a lot of contact. And, Keegan Thompson, if he's not striking him out, but he can still shut him down for 3 1/3, that's obviously very impressive as well.
Yeah.
Did David Ross or anybody in the clubhouse after the game explain what happened to Suzuki on the base running error? I couldn't really even figure it out watching. Did he forget how many outs there were?
Ross said, it kind of was just in his vantage point that it was like that ball, I don't know, like it kind of hung in like any other place. It would have been just a double into the gap or into the corner. That just kind of hung. And so that might have been why Suzuki just kind of thought it was going to get down and started going. Looking at the replay, I don't know, like even the timing of like, it looked like he started going after the ball was caught. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Suzuki. He's obviously doing his post game kind of stuff. So it came up here, but maybe we could talk about it. Hopefully get him tomorrow and see what exactly was going on. Because it was that, and then I know he had the misplay in right field with Madrigal on that fly ball. So maybe it just had to do with the altitude in the air and the way the ball was hanging or carrying and stuff. It could be as simple as that, especially not having any experience playing at Coors Field in the past. So, that's what Rossi said. That's his vantage point. That's what he thinks, and hopefully we can get a better answer for you tomorrow.
That's what I was saying while we were watching the game. I said if I was him, I'd just blame it on altitude sickness. He didn't maybe have his best game, but some other guys did. It was good to see Schwindel finally get his first home run of the season. And like you said, there was a lot of offense early on, and it turned out to be enough in this game against a team that also wasn't playing their best baseball.
Right. And those insurance runs in the later innings definitely came up big, especially, I tweeted all the time. I am once again asking for a shutdown inning, and the Rockies did not get the shutdown inning after they scored those 2 runs, basically off Steele and Roberts. So it kind of shut down any momentum that they had gained off that inning. So that's just kind of how baseball works sometimes. And it also helped that Keegan Thompson was just shoving, as me and Ryan like to say, and Corey.
He shoved. Ryan, any other nuggets?
I was going to tweet at you today, Luke. After I tweeted something about Keegan Thompson 3 1/3, and I was about to quote tweet it myself and tag you, be like, "This is what shoving is."
Any other nuggets or bullet points from post game that we should know about?
Justin Steele. I know I saw a little bit on Twitter. Just kind of wondering why Steele wasn't going to that curveball early on. And we asked him about it. He said that, he just kind of had, tips from pitchers that have pitched at Coors in the past, and the breaking ball maybe doesn't break as much as you want it to. So even just when he was, warming up and maybe in the bullpen, that he was feeling the four seam well and feeling the slider well, maybe the curveball wasn't really there. That's why if you look at it, I think maybe he threw like 2 in his first 50-ish pitches, something like that. And that's just why he just talking to other pitchers, talking to players with experience in Coors, that he just kind of realized that the curveball maybe wasn't the pitch to go to today. And, he did well in 4 2/3 with the fastball and the slider combo. So if those are the only 2 pitches he's throwing and he's going 4 2/3, when he finally starts getting the rest of the arsenal in there, that's a positive sign.
Sounds good. We got another big day planned out there in Colorado tomorrow.
Ryan, Ryan, what are you up to? Like maybe go see
going on.
Go see the Red Rocks, maybe.
Oh, Red Rocks is the place.
Maybe catch a show, museum.
Maybe I'll hop back on the Rockies DNVR podcast. So who knows?
Send them
there's a lot of options. Like I said, this is my first time out in Denver, so I got plenty of options.
Snooze is a good breakfast place.
Snooze AM Eatery.
Snooze. It's pretty solid, right, Joey?
All right.
It's good.
Good?
Yeah, good hash. Good hash.
It's not the bongo room, but it's good.
Couple of add-ins on the hash.
It's good.
All right, so slack those recommendations.
All right, I will. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, goodness.
Ryan Herrera, you can catch all of his content coming at allchgo.com. Some in the member section, some of it not in the member section, but we encourage you to sign up, become a member, and get that free merch as well. And if you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app. Use the code CHGO when you sign up. Not only do you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership. There you go, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get that free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. And if you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. In case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now, register your account from start to finish, all from your phone, and you're signing up with the fastest sports book. It's easier than ever. So start living your bet life in seconds. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
This is the best comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Luke, no, finish, Luke. I'm sorry.
Want me to finish?
I cut off your important ad read. Yeah. I'm
I'm supposed to read about CHGO here.
Read about CHGO. Jake, I'm sorry if you're listening.
Jake, hang in. Podcasts and live shows after every day. Post-game shows like this one. We'll have another one tomorrow. The premium written content for members at allchgo.com/Ryan Herrera. And the dope merch for all the teams. Look at Cody's shirt. There's one right there. And a free shirt when you become a member in the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. All right, what do you got?
Really important question here from Yarmir Yager in the comments. Madrigal stinky ? Yes or no, Corey? So I guess Luke.
He's only asking Corey.
Luke and Cody's
I'm
opinions
trying to figure out why
are irrelevant
I feel
here.
like have I been banging the Madrigal drum particularly
Does
loud?
he smell to you? Is he stinky?
I've never met him in person. I can't speak on that. He had a good night at the plate though, so that was good to see.
I thought
2
he
for
had his.
4.
Madrigal stinky. Yes
I'm-
or
That's
no?
the second time he's been
Corey.
described as stinky
I
in the
just
comments.
feel like I've just been telling people not to hate him with such a visceral passion, but I don't think I've been like a super strong
Tonight-
advocate for him either, have I? I don't think he's stinky. No,
I don't think Yarmir Yager says.
He doesn't think
Hot
he's.
take.
I've heard
Yeah.
your take on him, and
Oh gosh.
you have started calling him Nick Right Guard Madrigal, have you not?
right because he smells. Yeah, Ryan Herrera.
Never let him see a sweat, Madrigal.
Ryan Herrera texted us from Colorado and was like, "This Madrigal guy, he smells." And so
I can smell him in the press box.
Yeah.
What did Ryan say in the Cubs beat earlier? He said, "I was told Nick Madrigal was a terrible defender." Cody probably. I mean, yeah, I probably said that once or twice tonight because outside of that
He had a
play
fine
between
night
him
out
and
there,
Suzuki,
yeah.
he had some really nice defensive plays. The one where Crone beat the shift.
You said shift, correct?
Yes, I said
Late.
the
It's
shift.
late. Okay.
Crone beat the shift, but Madrigal got over there, spin, threw it to first, ended up saving a run. And then the snow cone catch in foul territory. Thought that was nice defensively as well. And then he had a couple hits. So, yeah, tonight was Nick Madrigal's best game as a
Smelling
Cub.
like roses.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's going to go a lot. He makes a ton of contact. So there's going to be games like we saw in Pittsburgh where the ball finds gloves or doesn't find holes. And yeah, there's going to be some weak contact and double plays. When a guy makes a lot of contact, he's going to ground into some double plays. But if he can be, even what he was for the White Sox, that's an above average hitter, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying him $30 million a year to be doing anything else.
Right.
It's totally fine if he can be an above average hitter. I know there's been some talk that he's not the best defender or he makes some bad plays from time to time, but
I've heard
I think
that his baseball IQ sucks. I've been told that.
Yeah,
By Southside fans.
Yes. I've been told his baseball IQ is not good.
everything we've seen from him so far, it's like, yeah, this is totally fine. Yeah, like
I had never heard the stinky part, but
Totally fine.
anyways.
Yeah.
We can add the stinky part to the list.
Joey, as we roll downhill here, for the YouTube fans, do we have the Albert Pujols running video? And for those of you that can't see this, just know that Albert Pujols tried to run from second base to third, correct?
Yes,
And he
he tried
is
to
running
steal.
in this game against the Brewers, trying to steal. He looks like me after I went to Chipotle and ordered a double order. Like
They
he's
got
running-
double meat.
Yeah, like double meat, and I'm like, I got to get somewhere. I don't know if I should go. Maybe I shouldn't go. I've never seen a professional athlete run this slow. That's not even a joke.
That feels. I mean, I haven't seen you run yet, but that feels.
Oh, you're never going to see me run.
Offensive
That stopped
to you.
10 years ago.
Like, this is brutal.
Yes, this was Ryan. No, you did it, didn't you, Cody? You said this looks like me.
Yeah, what did I do? I said apparently Luke Stuckmeyer was out at second base in Milwaukee.
And frankly,
afternoon.
I was slow even in high school, like really slow. Like I don't move quickly, but I don't ever move this slowly.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what Pujols is thinking there.
That.
He just starts taking off.
I mean,
steps off, throws to
credit
third.
to Albert.
I'm gonna honestly say, we're watching. He's so easily out at third. You could find.
He's halfway.
You
He's
could find
halfway.
8 out of 10 men that are 65 and older can run faster than that.
Well, and so like this is the
It's
type
so
of thing.
outrageously slow.
This is the type of thing that you want to see if you're a Cubs fan while the Cardinals are doing this farewell tour of guys. Like, this is an awful play.
Yeah.
If they want to keep, I think he hit a homer, but they lost 5-1 in this game. If they want to trot him out here to do whatever this is, right? Be my guest.
Yeah.
Because this
Look
is
at the pitcher. He's like, usually it's like,
Pitcher's
you notice
like
he's like, it's a
laughing.
quick step off. This guy turns. Oh, you're going? All right. I'm just
John
going to
Lester-
leisurely take 10 more seconds to throw you out.
John Lester could have turned and walked the ball over to third and still got
Well,
him out.
honestly, I was going to say it sort of reminds me of when Braun tried to do that to John, and John threw him out, and Braun was like, I was going to try it, and John was like, it's not funny. Like, I'm going to throw you out. Like,
That was
come on.
actually funny. Like, what made him think I'm going to take off? From
He was
third
trying
base?
to be sneaky. He was trying to be like Greg Maddux or some
Sneaky?
shit like
He's
that.
gigantic. You can't be sneaky.
He's
That
gigantic.
was like watching a buffalo try to go that had been wounded from second base to third. A wounded buffalo.
You just compared Albert Pujols to a buffalo.
Well, he's a big dude. Like, there's no sneaking over to third base.
Oh my god.
Am I
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
If he runs that slowly to the Hall of Fame, he's never getting in. I mean, that was outrageous. I've never seen an athlete in any sport move that slowly.
Yeah. I would love to see him and Yachty try to race. Like, because they're both like super slow at this point in their career. But Yachty's always been slow.
Paul Konerko would have beaten Albert Pujols in a race to third base there. And that's saying something because Paul Konerko was not quick. Pitching matchup for tomorrow's game. Marcus Stroman back on the hill against German Marquez, 740. What did you like about Stroman in his first outing?
Well, I was in the left field bleachers when he starts, so it was, I had a decent view of his start. I think what I liked the most was that he just, he worked quick and he just found a way to get outs. Like, he's not a strikeout guy, he's not a pitch to contact guy per se either. I feel like he's a little bit of both. And so in a way that kind of, that's why he has this reputation of he eats innings and he stays healthy and he just gets outs. And he's just like he's a professional pitcher. I mean, there's nothing fancy about. The fanciest thing he does is strut when he gets a strikeout or whenever he's running to the dugout after the third out after a big play or whatever. But like, I don't know. Like the first start, I went into the first start hoping for 5 strong innings, and he gave me 5 strong innings. So tomorrow, I'm, after tonight, where really the Cubs didn't use a lot of their bullpen, I'm assuming it's going to be another where Ross is hoping he gets 5 and around 80 pitches, and use the bullpen from then on. So I'm, the only thing that kind of worries me is like he was with the Mets last year, so he's only faced Colorado probably just a few times, and he's probably been to Coors Field just one series in his career. I'm assuming. I don't know if the Blue Jays played Colorado when he was there, but he probably doesn't have a lot of experience at Coors Field. So that's the only thing. But I could say that about any pitcher because no pitcher likes going to Coors Field. So I'm just hoping he gives me 5 tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about it in the pregame. Like the Rockies, it maybe it changed after tonight, but they're still going to be near the top. They, near the top of the league in ground balls, and that's Marcus's specialty is generating those weak contact ground balls. And probably Nico out there, so the defense should be a little better than it was tonight. For me, like you and I were at that game in his first start. and it obviously the home crowd won't be there, but I love Kyle Hendricks, but he has obviously a very like unassuming presence. Stroman is the opposite. He has a presence on the mound. And so it's not at Wrigley Field. You're not going to get that same energy. But what I'm enjoying already about having Marcus Stroman is that there's a vibe to his starts, right? There is an energy when he's out there. It feels like appointment viewing, which is fun. Like that's what you want. And yeah, like Coors is a tough place to pitch, but heavy ground ball team, heavy ground ball pitcher, like that's the recipe again for success tomorrow.
That's fair.
He's going to come with a swagger.
Nico better be at shortstop tomorrow with what you just said.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He will. Be.
Before we go, one quick note, Joey, before we head out the door, I just realized that anytime Yager's going to be on, as he says again, that is stinky behavior, we need Carlos Zambrano pulled up saying we stinks in Milwaukee.
Got it. Noted. Noted.
Put that on your long list of audio clips.
Another good comment I saw. Joe says, Madrigal gives off a fine odor. He can smell like Moises Alou's hands for all I care as long as he hits.
Okay. You know what?
That's enough odor talk for
Seeing
tonight.
as it's almost midnight, it's time to sign this one off. We hope you enjoyed it listening in the morning.
After dark.
Thanks for dropping in to check out the CHGO Cubs postgame show. Cubs beat the Rockies 5-2. We'll see you back here Friday night.
Tomorrow.
Well, now, almost today.
In 2 minutes.
Fly the W for your first place Cubs.